SCCA's National Championship Runoffs has long been a launching pad to professional careers for some, an annual pilgrimage for many, and a bucket list event just to compete in for all. This weekend, it is also a test extraordinaire, as for the contenders, Sonoma Raceway awaits.
From Sonoma Raceway, where another national champion is about to be crowned in the 2018 Sports Car Club of America National Championship Runoffs. Hello, everyone. I'm Ryan Marine, joined in this broadcast by Larry McLeod. We will have some help down on pit lane as well. Tom O'Gorman will be covering the action from pit side a little bit later on. This is the Prototype 2 class. 18 cars set to take the green flag, and I'll tell you, there's a great deal of diversity throughout this grid. You might see cars that on the entry list, they look the same, but little modifications here and there. There's a lot of things that are open for these competitors. Leads to some unique chassis, engine combinations, aero combinations, and it should make for a fun race.
Yeah, Ryan, it really does. What you'll see is a lot of store chassis, but even the store chassis that you buy as a customer vehicle, they're all now modified. A lot of them have done their own aero development, so you'll see a little bit different front wing, a little bit different rear, different bodywork even over the rear of the car. And then they're all using a slightly different power plant. You know, you may even see that some of them are running the 1000cc GSXR, but some of them are built GSXR, some of them are factory, you know, crate motor, so to speak. So even looking at the cars, they're not always going to be the same. And then you throw in the old sports racers, the short wheelbase, smaller little bit of cars, and again, the same thing there. Everyone's on a little bit different engine. So that's really, to me, is a fascinating part of this class in general. It really is a builder and engineers type of class where you can kind of almost decide what you want to bring, go out and build it and bring it out.
Let's go ahead and get some developing storylines from pit lane and check in with Tom O'Gorman.
Yeah, good morning, guys. Just want to give you a closer look at these awesome cars. These are among the fastest of the entire event we'll see. This is Tim Day's pole-sitting car, but as you referenced, you can kind of randomize any combination of tire and chassis and power plant, and it's represented here as we pan further down the grid. Some of those older sports racers, all sorts of difference in representation here in P2.
Yeah, really exciting stuff. Thanks so much, Tom. We'll be keeping an eye on everything from the pits as the race goes along today. Let's talk about this grid, specifically the two guys on the front row. Tim Day, who is last year's runner-up in this class, and he's lined up alongside the guy who currently holds the track record for P2, Chuck Bona.
Yeah, very interesting with Day. He's actually running two classes this week. He's going to run here in P2. He's got the pole later on. We'll see him in P1. So he's getting that diversity of his drive. What's interesting also is that during qualifying, these two classes, the P1 we'll see later and this here with P2, they actually qualified in the same session, which meant that Day had to go out there half of his time in one car, half of his time in the other car. Clearly, he's got a stranglehold here based on qualifying times at P2. He's very quick with about a 2-second advantage that he was able to set here on Thursday qualifying. So now as he gets quicker and quicker, he does have experience at this track, even though he's from Arizona. He does come up here for this. So very fast here, whereas Bona, a little bit more a local guy here running. He's 2 seconds back on qualifying. However, what we've even seen, even with earlier in the race, is that qualifying results aren't exactly a direct indicator of how the race will go. So Bona's going to want to try and stay close early, and as the temperatures in the race, the air temps come up, the track temps come up, we'll see if he can maybe hold on today. The other one to look at there is going to be Schaefer. Your defending champ in the class, qualifying only 4th, which is interesting because a year ago he really ran away with it. Winning by a whole lap, just took off from the field. Now he's qualifying 4th. I do expect maybe we'll see a little bit better pace out of him than maybe what he showed in qualifying.
These are lightweight prototype cars, so tire temperature around a relatively low grip surface at Sonoma Raceway is going to be a storyline. 58 degrees here, still in the early morning hours, relatively speaking. Temperatures will probably come up through the course of the race, but early on, how important is it, especially under the pace lap, for these drivers to get the necessary heat in their tires?
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to want to really be working. You'll see a lot of that as the cars are trying to work the back and forth, a little bit of the slalom in the car on the track under the pace lap to try and get some heat into them. But as you can actually see in that shot right there, you've got the Avon tires as well as the Hoosiers. There's also a couple of Goodyear-clad cars. So you've got a variety of tires and compounds working, whereas the Avon may be a quicker warming tire, perhaps the Goodyear is the long-run tire, and then you got the Hoosier perhaps in between. So you're going to watch cars take different strategies of how they try to attack early, or they're going to maybe play the late in the race game.
Yeah, variety really is the name of the game in this class, and it goes to the engines as well, where some of these are more like what you'd find on a motorcycle. Some are actually road-going engines as well that you'd find in a production car, and they have various different ways of making power. The chassis are different. There's so many various things about this class that makes it unique, and it's one of the fun classes in SCCA for that reason.
Yeah, it is interesting that way. A lot of these cars are motorcycle, but there are a couple running the Honda motor or the Mazda motor, more standard vehicle type motor as opposed to motorcycle, and they're going to make power in different places. Whereas the motorcycle motors are typically going to rev quite a bit higher, makes a pretty good top end power. But I would expect maybe the Mazda and Honda to have a pretty good torque coming out of the corners. And that's where you see like Schaefer, he's the defending champ, but he's going to be running that Honda motor, whereas the guys up in the front right now, they're all on Suzukis, and really they're making that top end, and maybe they're making that work around this track.
Where are these cars going to be at their most spectacular around this track? These are somewhat downforce cars, especially compared to some of the other classes in SCCA. Does that make those high-speed sections a lot of fun?
It really does. You're going to see them come off a 7 at the hairpin, and it's just going to be amazing to watch them hit those apexes through 8, 8A, and then plummeting down that little short drop down towards 10. If there's one spot to watch on this track of these cars, that'd be probably one of you to watch turn 10, and the speeds that they're going to generate going through there are just going to be incredible.
Should be a lot of fun when we get started here, and that should be in just a few moments' time. A good look down there at the cars getting ready to go, and the drivers in their cockpits thinking about the task ahead, 20 laps or 40 minutes, whichever comes first. A high-pressure moment for all involved. This is the race. This is the event for the SCCA competitor, and in many cases, you're building all year, tuning on the car with wherever it is you're going for the runoffs in mind, and in this year, that's Sonoma.
Yeah, and that's what you'll see is a lot of the drivers that had experience coming in. That plays a big part when you're setting up a car as unique as each of these ones are, to have that knowledge of where is the car going to make its best speed and how does it do it at a track like this. And also the drivers themselves, the ones with experience at this track, they came out on the practice of the weekend or first qualifying Tuesday morning with maybe a bit of a leg up on some of the other drivers that are coming in from out of town. Interesting with this shot, you can really get to see the uniqueness of these cars with someone with the low rear wing, like there's the 2 store chassis, the 3 store chassis out in front, and then you've got what I believe is a Ligier there for Schaefer in the 4th spot. So you really see them as they come around. Every car is just so unique, and even on these you'll see some of the rear wings are kind of a flat plane. Some of them will have a little bit more of a sculpting. Those are the ones obviously with some aero development. Just fascinating. If you're an engineer, you're sitting around going, which class do I want to watch? I want to be a part of. I think one of these prototypes here in P2 especially is probably where you want to be. And
with the cars being so different, that means they make their power in different ways, they make their speed in different ways, maybe more importantly. And so different parts of the track are going to favor different cars, and so that creates some opportunities for some passing and some good battles.
That's exactly what you see, because not every car, because they're so unique, they don't all make their speed in the same ways or the same place. So it's going to be fascinating how maybe a car's got an advantage through the opening couple of corners up through 2 and 3 and 4, where it's a little bit more sweepy, and who's got the advantage perhaps on the higher speed down the turn 8, where it's all transition into 10. So you're going to see a lot of differences there, and that usually generates passing opportunities.
The field weaving back and forth, trying to get some heat in the tires behind the Trans Am pace car. We will be coming around to take the green flag this time around. The Trans Am pace car, official pace car of the SCCA runoffs, leading the field around to that green flag. Let's run through the starting grid, starting with your Tire Rack Pole Award winner, Tim Day Jr. from Scottsdale, Arizona. He'll start on pole with Chuck Bona, the course track record for this class. He owns it, and he'll start in the 2nd spot. Lucian Pansea will start in 3rd, the San Antonio, Texas native. Alongside him, Jeff Schaefer, the defending champion in this class. Greg Gann will start 5th, Dustin Decker in 6th. David Ferguson and Armin Magresian will start 7th and 8th. Row number 5 belongs to Paul Decker and Eric O'Brien. Mike Rupert and Fernando Fabian Okonski will start in 11th and 12th. Kevin Mitz in 13th, Sherman Chow in 14th, John Basso lines up in the 15th starting position, while P16 belongs to Rob Conrad. Final row on the grid, Kurt Ladendorf in 17th, and Richard Colburn from Northbrook, Illinois, starts in the 18th spot. Getting ready to come around to take the green flag. You see the lights off on the pace car. Final thoughts as we approach our P2 race.
I'm going to make a call now. This lap record is going to fall, and I'll explain a little bit about why I think it's going to happen, besides also looking at the qualifying times, as Day's about 3 seconds under. But I think even the reason why that's happening, I think, has a lot to do with the conditions in October.
Tim Day, I believe, electing to start on the outside. He's in the number 8 car, number 42 of Chuck Bona, alongside very similar paint schemes between those two. A bit of a lockup further back in the field, or perhaps something more sinister than that. We'll check on that in a moment as the green flag waves, and we're 2 by 2, 3 rows deep in the field, coming up the hill through turn 1, entering turn number 2. To the inside right now, Tim Day Jr. able to hold off the charge from Chuck Bona. Now a challenge mounted to the inside. I think that is that Ligier chassis. That is indeed Jeff Schaefer, who's been able to make up some ground up to the 2nd spot after starting in 4th, the defending champion. He's got some, that is up to 3rd. My apologies,
Yep,
Schaefer's still in 4th. Misread that one. But at any rate, we have a good battle with Tim Day leading the way at this stage. As a pretty clean start to this race. We do have some smoke, though, coming off of one of the race cars.
That appears maybe actually Schaefer.
Yeah, it looks like it might be. So Schaefer there in the 28. My apologies, with the National Guard livery on that race car. We'll keep an eye on that. If perhaps there was some contact or something along those lines that might have led to a tire rub. At any rate, the top 3 seem to have checked out at this stage. A good close look here at Schaefer right now, and not seeing any of that smoke, so that's a good sign.
Yeah, nothing coming out now. He looks like maybe just a little bit as he's running that Honda motor. May have just been a little bit oil around the inside the engine there on cold startup.
It's Greg Yan making his way around the outside of Dustin Decker. Those two started in 7th and 6th, respectively. And when they come around, we'll be able to tell you exactly where they stack up after a frantic opening lap. But the good news is it is clean and green. We continue here at Sonoma Raceway after one lap up front. Day by 0.8 of a second. Bona sitting in the 3rd spot behind Pansea, who was able to get that good jump. He runs in 2nd. Schaefer in 4th in the Ligier.
Yeah, great start by Pansea. And interesting, you mentioned just before they rolled off that Tim Day elected to start on the right side of the track. Seems to have worked for him, was able to carry the advantage into turn 1. And in fact, Pansea followed him through, was able to get by Bona there into that 2nd turn.
Good looking start there from Lucian Pansea out of San Antonio, Texas, to get that jump there into the 2nd position. Now as you settle into your rhythm, we do see some smoke coming off of the Ligier chassis a little bit ago, and now some smoke as well from the 3rd place car. That's
Bona.
Chuck Bona.
Yeah, so lots of little bits of smoke coming out this morning. Bona, I believe, is on one of our Suzuki. So now you've got the Honda. That Schaefer's got a little Suzuki. Spit a little bit of oil, but you know, these are prototype cars. These aren't exactly your factory off the street cars.
A lot of developmental work goes into these race cars. Good battle shaping up here for the 2nd position. That's allowed Day to check out a little bit. You can see the gap right there. But for the moment, it's Pansea in the 2nd spot, and trying to steal it away is Bona.
So I'm going to be watching Day's lap times. We know the lap record that belongs to Bona. Day was under it for qualifying as he comes by for really his first true hot flyer as the 2nd lap. Want to see what his lap time is. See how close to the record he is.
And we'll wait for that to flash up on the screen as Bona continues to put the pressure on. Good look inside the cockpit there, and the times are up. What's the verdict?
Yeah, he's already under the lap record here at the track. The old lap record looks like it was a 133.9. He's already to 32.2. In fact, all the top 3 are under the top 4 or 5 are under the old lap record.
The advantage is 1.8 seconds from 1st to 2nd, but then just 1/10 of a second when they cross the line between 2nd and 3rd. There they are on your screen. Pansea's got the spot. Bona wants it, trying to find a way by. He's pretty close here coming out of the carousel, but can he make the move?
Yeah, he's definitely using the draft as he comes up out of 6 into 7.
One of the places on this track that you are straight for a little while. You can use the draft to your advantage. Took an inside approach there to turn number 7. Spits him out wide on the exit. Now trying to stay in touch through the S's. These cars do make some downforce off those wings, so how turbulent do you think it might be running in close proximity behind one another?
Yeah, these door chassis with the low rear wings don't make as big a hole in the air, perhaps, as the sports racers or the Ligier or a Radical with a bigger rear aero. But every car, of course, when you're making air, it does disrupt what's happened behind you.
That's Jeff Schaefer right there, the Las Vegas, Nevada native. He does have a little bit of loose body work.
He's just gone purple in both first and second sector for Schaefer, so he is definitely on a flyer mount. Now the car may be coming in as he's on those Goodyear tires.
You talked about the difference between the tires. For those who are just joining us, where do you think each of the different brands has the advantages?
Well, I think the Goodyear may be more the long run tire, whereas the Avon, what I've heard from this class as well as a few others, is that, we're not quite sure. It may be coming in a little earlier, but we're not sure what it'll do at lap 15 to 20 is these practice and qualifying sessions have been much shorter than a race duration, of course. And so it'll be interesting to see, can the Avons maintain the pace late in the race.
Schaefer was the fastest car on track the last time by 0.5 of a second. It looks like Pansea actually setting the second fastest mark and doing so while under significant duress.
Yeah, and Schaefer, though, continuing to drop fastest lap. Now he's the record holder. We're not going to bother mentioning that for a while because it's going to continue to fall all day. But what he did on his previous lap, set it everywhere. Now he's gone ahead. He's back under that here in the first sector through.
Pansea opened the door briefly there for Bona, but Bona couldn't make the move stick inside there in turn number 7, has to fall back in line, and you have to believe he's feeling a little bit of pressure to get this move done because pretty soon he's going to have some trouble in the form of Schaefer coming in his rearview mirror, and the cars hit some traffic there at a really unfortunate time, and that opens the door for Schaefer. 3 wide for a moment. For now, cooler heads prevail when they go 1, 2, 3 through the lap traffic at turn number 11, but that was a very frantic moment there headed into that turn 11 hairpin.
Yeah, turn 10 is not where you want to catch somebody for sure. There is only one line through that corner, so all 3 of them kind of had to back off. Luckily, the lap traffic was great enough to be able to pull aside before they got to the hairpin and let them through.
But the end result is that Schaefer has arrived in that Ligier. You can see the work he's doing to try and keep that thing under control. A bigger car stalking a couple of the smaller chassis in front of him, the Stores. How does that affect the way that these cars race together?
Yeah, when you're racing in a pack, you do get a lot of that aero adjustment. So while you're behind somebody, the front of your car is not going to stick quite as well as will when you're by yourself. So interesting then as you try to manage tires. If you're up under somebody's wing, your front tires are going to definitely wear more than what the other guys, or what you would do if you were by yourself. So as you see here, even you're seeing Bona kind of stepping out somewhere, probably getting a little bit of clean air.
The big winner in that whole situation was Day, and Tim Day Jr. has been able to stretch his advantage now to 2.5 seconds the last time around over Pansea. So he definitely was able to make his escape and build a bit of a cushion. Now the question is, when this battle for second gets sorted out, how long does that stay? Because we got 3 pretty hungry drivers here fighting for second, third, and fourth.
Yeah, they really are. In fact, you watch this battle for second right now as Schaefer drops back just a hair around through those S's. But the lock up there, and all that does, it just brings Bona right back onto the back of Pansea.
It does, and if that results in a flat spot, that's something that you're going to have to deal with for the rest of the race, and the tendency is those things don't get any better as the race goes along.
The flat spots tend to find themselves every time you touch the brakes then after they've gone ahead and created themselves on that first time.
So Day out in front now, 3.1 seconds. That time pulled away by an additional 0.6 of a second. That was a good lap from him, a 132.3. The guys behind right around the 133 mark. Schaefer actually dropping off to a 133.4, so a second off of what Day did. Not exactly sure what the problem was for him, but it wasn't long lasting because there he is once again inserting himself into this fight for second.
Yeah, he was up on them as they came out of 7, but by the time they came down through the S's there, through 8 and 9, he had dropped back a little bit. And I wonder if that little bit bigger, wider car kind of hurts him trying to get that momentum, as well as he's on the Honda motor, the other guys on that more higher strung motorcycle engines.
Chuck Bona taking a look to the inside there as we see Pansea rim ride the outside in turn 7. The end result is nothing changes. For now, Pansea able to hold off the attack from behind. Bona, though, sliding that car. You could see just how much of a drift he was in, cresting that hill, that elevation change, the camber change. This track is so technical. That's what all the drivers talked about in the week building up to these races. it is such a challenging track to learn, and you can never rest. It looks like we might have had a chance. Oh, and a spin. Around goes Pansea, and that promotes Bona up to the second spot, and Schaefer into third. Pansea trying to get the thing refired, and in a dangerous spot, able to whip it around and into a safe area of the racetrack, and Lucian Pansea back underway, but a costly spin for him as he was running in the second spot at the time.
Yeah, he as he came in there into 11, got a little bit of lockup, spun himself a little bit deep, and we didn't quite see if there was contact. But I do see on the back then of his car in that wing, you can see the end plate's got a little bit of an angle to it. I don't know if he contacted one of the barrels that's on the apex, or if he actually made contact there with Schaefer going, or with Schaefer going by, or Bona.
So that changes the complexion of this battle for second and third. Final two spots on the podium. Up front, Day has been able to stretch that lead to 4.7 seconds here after 6 laps. 14 still to go. This race has been clean from the start, just seeing a couple little spins and things of that nature, but nothing that has led to anything more than a local yellow. Very clean so far.
So interestingly, as soon as Pansea has the issue and Bona now is by himself, he's quickest overall Sector 1.
Interesting. We'll see if that continues through Sector 2. Doing a great job keeping an eye on that. Thank you very much, Larry, because it does help tell the story, not just of the track record, which is a storyline in and of itself, but now that he's in clean air, Bona appears to be one of the fastest cars out there.
Yep, clean air in front, now clean air behind, as well as he's just not defending. You know, when you're trying to hold position on somebody, you do take a little bit of a compromised line at times. And now that he doesn't have to do that, as he's got a couple of second lead with Schaefer back there. Schaefer's going to stay back there, but he's gonna make sure he maintains a reasonable gap. Schaefer also trying to work clean air, as you see Bona there just now setting the fastest lap of the race.
And here we go, the leader into lap traffic once again. That's Day working his way around one of the cars further back in the field, and that cost some time. That last lap for Day, a 134 compared to Bona's 132, which just went purple.
Yeah, Bona's definitely taking advantage now on not having Pansea behind him and trying to make up some ground. I didn't quite see where Day got held up. I do expect that's probably what that was, but Bona right now is clearly the fastest car on the track.
Now these two started alongside one another. Bona held the track record coming into this race, set that back in June for the class, and I think has a great deal of motivation to try and make sure that stays in his name if he possibly can, and making some ground here. That lead dwindling just a bit, down under 2 seconds for the first time in recent memory, 1.9 the last time by, and visually it just looks like Chuck Bona has been able to make up some ground. You can see that gap closing.
Yeah, he visually is, and you watch sector times, and again, it's about a couple of tenths per sector as he's going by. But I'm watching Schaefer too. He's not going to be falling back very far. He's running on the same pace as Day out in front, and Schaefer about 4 seconds total back. You're going to see Schaefer maybe looking for the late run here at the end.
Further back in the field, good fight breaking out over 7th position. It's McGreesian in the number 31, the blue car, and just behind in the black machine, that's the 169 of Richardson.
So interestingly, just learned that Bona actually is driving Schaefer's previous championship car. So Schaefer not in the same car that he used to drive. He's in that Ligier here. It's Bona actually driving the same car that won last year.
Really interesting story there, a cool development.
We got a spin.
Yes, we do. That is the 42.
That's Bona.
Oh my goodness. Mounting a charge just a few moments ago, and now making hand signals like he might be done.
Oh, that's unfortunate, as he was really making a charge there.
And we'll wait and see what comes of that. For now, it's still a green flag just covered by a local yellow there. That's McGreesian now up into the 6th spot. And big slide there behind by Richardson in the 169, but still able to make up some ground. So actually fighting over 6th right now that Bona has dropped back. Right now we see Richardson slide to the inside of McGreesian, and he gets the job done in the carousel. That's a tricky place to make a pass.
It really is. Yeah, usually typically there you hold your line, you wait to make the pass in 7, but he's decided he doesn't want to wait. Clearly saying he's faster.
Good stuff there. Richardson around McGreesian for 6th. So knocking on the door of potentially breaking into the top 5. Now everybody in the midst of traffic, it would seem. That makes things difficult. And man, that back of that car looks awfully loose. He looks like he's got a handful.
He really does. Not quite as well planted as some of the others, but maybe that's his advantage then, as he's got maybe that coming out of 6, coming up to 7. He didn't want to wait to get to 7, make the pass, because he knew that he was going to be faster with maybe a little less downforce.
So David Ferguson now starting to enter the frame. He's trying to track down McGreesian, who has slipped to 7th here recently. Ferguson running in the 8th spot. Started this race in 7th, so trying to get back to where he started. There's McGreesian coming through in the blue car, and then the 75, that's Ferguson running just behind, a couple seconds down the road basically at this point.
Yeah, it's really tightening up there for that 6-7 battle.
It's getting frantic out there. Lots of different cars running various speeds and trying to manage that. That could make the difference in this race. As we look, Schaefer has actually closed the gap up front. It's down to 1.7 seconds. So Schaefer, who started in 4th, we were a bit surprised at that given how well he ran a year ago. Inserting himself into the picture here now, trying to track down Day and perhaps win another championship. Still 11 laps to go.
Yeah, here about the halfway mark, it does look like Schaefer's race is finally coming to him, as the guys in front of him with Bona and Pancia earlier, they've each had some spin issues. Now Schaefer is kind of in that seat. Now he can really see Day out in front of him.
Here is Tim Day. He's made 2 previous appearances in the runoffs, one in this class. That was last year at Indianapolis, where he finished as the runner-up. He was the Hoosier Super Tour champion in this class last year and won the nationwide point title for P2 as well, racing out of the Western Conference. P2 champion for the Western Conference Majors and 4th in P2 in that conference this year. So long list of accolades, and you talked about it earlier. The Arizona native has something of a home field advantage here. He does get up here relatively frequently, and that's something we've talked about all week long, the advantage for those who have run this track. It's a difficult environment to try and learn a new track here at the runoffs with limited track time, and so if you have some of that built up data, setups, and just track knowledge from a driver's seat perspective, that makes a huge difference.
It really does, because this is an extremely complicated, difficult to drive, challenging track. There's a lot of undulation, a lot of off-camber, a lot of downhill braking, a lot of visual issues where you come up into turn 2, the first big right-hander, and if you stand at the apex, you're looking downhill to both sides, because the apex is the crest of that hill, which means as you approach it, you can't see it. Same thing with coming through 3 towards 3A. You have to commit because you want to get a run over 3A down to 4, but if you can't see it and you commit to the wrong place, suddenly you're in the grass on driver's left. So it's a very, very challenging track. So having that advanced knowledge, that local knowledge, really pays off. Now, these days with the era of simulators really playing a big part, there's a couple of outfits out there you can rent real simulator time, and these kind of guys who drive these prototypes absolutely take advantage of that. So they're able to sort of mitigate some of that lack of knowledge by getting into a sim.
This is a good look at Schaefer in the National Guard entry, running in the 2nd position. Now 2.4 seconds off the race lead. The last 2 laps, he's dropped about 0.7 of a second further behind Tim Day. Schaefer is the 2-time and defending champion of this class, hailing from Las Vegas, Nevada. Not exactly a West Coaster, you couldn't say, but more local than some, at least west of the Mississippi, and that gives you a head start on several of the people in this class.
It absolutely does. You know, and he's obviously got a couple of cars here in this field as the owner of One Motorsports. He's driven this track before, and so he's been around a long time. This guy is definitely no rookie in this field. He's going to use all that knowledge of the multiple cars and try to apply that to each and every setup. And I think, again, he was playing the race pace. You saw his qualifying wasn't exactly as quick as Day, but here in the race, they're running very similar lap times, and I think that's just that knowledge of Schaefer. And now you'll watch him sort of manage through this traffic coming around through 9.
A finish in either 1st or 2nd would be in keeping with his previous runoffs experience. He has, again, the 2 national championships in 16 at Mid-Ohio, 17 last year at Indy, where he led every single lap after starting on pole in that race. And then you go back to his first runoffs, that was 2015 in this class at Daytona, finished 2nd there. So pretty good history, pretty good track record of success in a lot of different types of tracks too, which speaks to his well-rounded skill set.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a unique track, but if you can win at Indy last year, very flat, no elevation, and all of a sudden you come to here and as you're on the front straight, you climb the hill through 1 to 2, suddenly it's about 120 feet above you. That's a huge difference that you did not see in the past. You do the same thing, but Ohio's got some undulations, not quite to the extreme that this has. So for a driver to go from track to track, consistently put it on the podium says a lot about that driver's skill.
You mentioned the elevation change here at Sonoma Raceway, 160 feet of elevation change throughout the course of the lap, which is 2.52 miles, 12 turns around this place, and the most distinct area of elevation change is this one we're looking at right here. From the apex of turn 1 to the apex of turn 2, the drivers climb 104 feet. That's equivalent to a 10-story building, and they do it in just about 1,000 feet of racetrack. So a huge climb up this hill, and makes for one of the more iconic corners around the circuit, and one of the reasons this place is so prized and such a prestigious place to get to race at.
So this car we're watching right here, in that number 44 of Eric O'Brien, he actually just purchased this car a couple of days ago. It was originally owned by David Arkin. Arkin unable to drive right now, so Eric was able to make a deal. In fact, the deal went down literally. They each took a piece of paper, put a price on it. When they changed the paper and they looked at it, they had each written the same price. Deal done, everybody's happy. So he's adapting to this different chassis. Now, this chassis looks like your classic sports racer, which it is. It was built by Arkin, but it is the Kawasaki motor, so it's not the Suzuki. David Arkin says the motor's a little bit more reliable. That's what he likes about it. He's also done the pushrod suspension, so he's done a lot of little upgrades that maybe some of the other cars of the old sports racers had not done. Eric O'Brien just thrilled to be able to get into a car of this caliber now and have a little bit of fun. You can see he's running solidly there in 10th spot.
Yeah, top 10 run, and he's got a fight on his hands right now with Decker closing in from behind. We've got an update down in pit lane. Tom O'Gorman has an update on Schaefer, who has fallen back now 3.4 seconds off the race lead. What can you tell us, Tom?
Yeah, guys, talking a little bit to Schaefer's crew down here, and we're learning that it sounds like he actually qualified in a Radical chassis car on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then switched after not being satisfied with that car to this Ligier that he's driving now. I don't know how much experience he might have in that car prior to this event, but this is only his second time this Runoffs week that he's been in that car on this track.
Wow, that's a great story. Thank you very much for that insight, Tom, and explains why the entry list, depending on which one you look at, says he's in one of 2 different chassis, so that does settle that. Pretty awesome, though, to be able to have the choices on hand and switch between the 2 if you don't like your first choice.
Absolutely, yeah. Difficult choices to make when you come up in the morning and you've got either a Radical or this chassis here. But also, that would explain a little bit why you saw his qualifying pace only in 4th, a couple of seconds off a day, but he's picked it up here. You go out in qualifying session, there's a lot new to you if you've been driving that Radical for a couple of sessions. Now you jump into this chassis and you're kind of learning again. He's clearly picked it up. The lead now about 4 seconds, but his pace still remains to be very close to a day's running.
Yeah, this is all just new information for him. Very limited running in this car, it sounds like. And I mean, you're just learning at this stage. Even though you're in the race, it's not really where you'd like to be doing your learning, but he's learning on the fly and doing a great job. Just 4 seconds off the race lead.
Yeah. Well, any driver, any team owner, and team mechanic will tell you that every lap is a test session. Regardless of whether this is the last race of the season or the first, you're constantly collecting data because you can learn from every corner on every lap, and clearly that's what Schaefer's doing right now and picking up the speed in this car.
Taking a look at our 3rd place runner a little further back in the field, Greg Guillen has moved up to that 3rd spot, displacing Pensea, who falls back to the 4th spot. Richardson has moved up to 5th here the last time around. So that is your podium at the moment. Day, Schaefer, and Guillen. Nice run from him, starting in 5th, so up a couple of positions. And now pretty distantly in 3rd at the moment, but in position to get a medal at the end of this race. And that's something that all these drivers prize so heavily. That's what they're here for, to, if possible, stand atop a podium in a national championship race at the Runoffs.
Yeah, also looking at a couple of the movers that have kind of moved up into this field is you've got Fabian Okonski, started, I think it was in 13th, currently running up into the top 10, up in 9th, so a good performance there for him as he's driving, again, one of those store chassis. I believe that's the one, actually, it's got a WF bodywork on top of the original store chassis. So we talked earlier about sometimes you take the the one you buy as a kit, but you still make modifications. And that's one of the things that Fabian has done to his.
So here's Gan and Pansea. Gan in the red and black car. Pansea right behind him, running in fourth at the moment. That is maybe the best battle on the track. And again, has recently made that spot up here in the last handful of laps. He's made 3 previous appearances in the runoffs, both, make that 2, both in this class. It looks like it is 3, actually. Finished 3rd in 2016 at Mid-Ohio, 3rd again at Indy last year, 5th in his debut in 2015, running at Daytona and putting a great drive in right now in his store chassis, able to get up into the podium.
Yeah, but Pansea is coming strong. Picked up about 2.5 seconds his last lap by. I know he was running up into the top 2 and top 3 there earlier on in the race before that spin at 11. In fact, you get a good shot there. You can see the end plate of that rear wing on that right side is bent out. That's got to hurt a little bit of the aero, especially on these long runs like into 7. But clearly he's outpacing Guillen right now.
And we saw that earlier in the race. We speculated that might have something to do with the spin that we saw.
Yeah, it appeared to come up then. We didn't quite see if there was contact with the car or there are the barrels on that apex. Kind of a unique feature here at the hairpin at Sonoma as they have those barrels. He may have gotten so far inside he caught one of those.
So my apologies, Pansea had actually lost some ground quite a while ago in that spin, but has recovered and done a nice job getting close to being back on the podium. So we'll see if he can't track down Guillen here for that 3rd position. He's got 4 laps to do it, make it 3 as they come around to complete yet another lap through turn 12 and across the start-finish line. I guess that would be 4 as the leaders have gone through. So still plenty of time for Pansea to try and make that position up. But still, you're feeling that pressure when you know you only have 4 more circuits to try and make the move. You want to be up on that podium.
Yeah, you're Guillen. You know it's Pansea behind you. You know that he had a very good qualifying. You know that he was in front of you earlier except the spin. But also knowing there's 4 laps to go, you're thinking, I really wanted that medal. I want to be on that podium. And Guillen right now, as we've got a bit of a spin here.
We do. It's problems for Okonski, who we talked about a few moments ago.
And Decker.
And Decker, that's right. So I think those 2 were running right around one another a little while ago. And Decker stuck in the tire barrier. Yeah, here was a replay. What do you see?
Yeah, as they come in, and it looks like the move on the outside there for Okonski didn't quite work, as Decker then on the inside maybe was unable to quite get the car slowed down enough, and they just made contact there. Doesn't look like that that Decker's going to be able to get back rolling.
And that car is in a bit of a compromised position, so curious to see what the stewards elect to do here. With 4 laps to go, you really want to keep this thing green if you can. When you're racing for a national championship, that's what all these guys came around to do. You can see he's getting some instructions right there, maybe being told just to stay in that race car. Oftentimes that's the safest place to be.
Yeah, surrounded by a cage, belted in, a very safe spot. And it is right there at that hairpin, which we know is definitely a place where cars are trying to make passes. With just 3 laps to go, it might just be best to have him just sit tight. But here's that battle for 3rd with Guillen and Pansea. Looks like he got around him.
He sure did. So move Pansea up into the 3rd position, I believe. Let's make sure that's the case as they cycle through here, but that's the way it looks to the naked eye. Oh, that's actually Richardson now, who's been able to get himself into the mix. He was making some progress a little while ago, and now all of a sudden Richardson is on the rear wing of Pansea trying to make a move.
Yeah, my apologies on that too. I just thought the darker color store chassis, and I thought it was Guillen, but no, that is Richardson. About the quickest guy on the track right now. He's still lapping the 32s, no one else down that low. So this race really coming into Richardson right here at the end with a shot of at least a 4th, maybe even a shot maybe to get up into Guillen for 3rd. But he looks like he's really setting up Pansea right now.
Sure is. Took a look to the outside there, elected not to do anything with that run that he had, trying to get the drive here out of turn number 7, trying to get alongside into the S's. You really don't want to be to the right in that section right there. We've seen that throughout the week, and wisely drops back off and will try and mount a charge again. Not sure if the Decker car is still stuck in the tires there in turn 11, but if so, I'd speculate it's covered by a local yellow, which would take away one of the passing zones on this track, although we see a move here, so perhaps they've been able to get that car removed.
Perhaps, yeah, that was interesting as he's going around the lap traffic there. But yeah, watching him at this point as one of the quicker cars on the track, I wonder if that little bit of a bent rear panel there on that wing for Pansea is really hurting him in the longer runs, allowing Richardson to get up behind him.
So
Richardson, I think it was, Richardson, no, it's Guillen. I apologize. Guillen was third last year. He's trying to hang on to that third spot here. Seeing this battle going behind him is probably making him a happy man.
Oh, what a big move around the outside. Late on the brakes. Richardson with a ton of confidence to make that move. You don't see it in that corner very often.
I don't think I've seen that pass at all in the other races so far here at the Runoffs. That was a really gutsy move.
Awesome stuff. Richardson on a flyer right now, trying to run down Guillen for the final step of the podium. 2 laps to go, and one of the faster cars on the racetrack right now. Day all alone up front by 7.5 seconds over Schaefer. Then it's 18 further seconds back to Guillen in third. And that's where we get into this battle here, as Pansea has slipped to 5th. Up front, here is your leader, Day. Coming around, he'll take the white flag this time by. What an impressive performance from him. Had a bit of a challenge early on, but didn't take too long, and he checked out on the field. Schaefer did his best to make things interesting after a few of the other front runners went by the wayside, but in the last few laps, it's been all Tim Day Jr. at the front of the field.
Yeah, he has controlled this race right from the front as soon as the green flag dropped. And I'm watching to see Richardson as he just set a personal best sector 2, trying to catch on to Guillen. You can see the gap. He's already on his tail as they start this final lap.
Tim Day Jr. in the Mere Mortal Apparel Hoosier Tires 2006 edition of this store chassis, hailing from Scottsdale, Arizona, out in front. But here we do have the battle heating up. That is Guillen in the 83 right behind Pansea, putting the pressure on, trying to snag a podium spot. Richardson is, with 1 lap to go.
Yeah, Richardson clearly faster right now, and he is not patient. He's making the move.
He does. Makes it to the inside and does it cleanly. What a drive from Richardson here in the last few laps to get up onto the podium. Really great stuff. 2 outstanding passes in back-to-back laps as well.
Unbelievable, yeah. Passing in through 3 was amazing. Not a lot. There have been a couple of passes through 4, and he decided right there as he came over the hill at 3A that he was not going to lift. He was going to go right to that inside, and very good, clean racing there as Richardson right now sitting in that 3rd and final podium spot.
Well, Richardson sits relatively comfortably in 3rd, but it's Day out in front trying to pick up a national championship and the SCCA Runoffs. He's got 1 more quarter to go around the left-hander here in turn number 12. Checkered flags waiting for Tim Day Jr., your P2 national champion in the 2018 SCCA Runoffs. Now we'll wait for Schaefer to come through in the 2nd spot. Tim Day, though, acknowledging the crowd, acknowledging all of those who helped put him in this position. Here comes the battle for 3rd as Schaefer has come through to clinch 2nd spot. It looks like no trouble for Richardson. He crosses the line in 3rd to complete the podium. Guillen slipping to 4th. Pansea will settle for the 5th position here in 2018. Dramatic race throughout the field in P2. Some really fascinating machinery, and they put on a show for us today.
Oh, they really did. Day, what a drive from green to checker the whole way, just controlled that race. But behind him with Schaefer showing that speed, started 4th, kind of paced himself out, got the car to some speed, was running some very quick lap times in the middle, solid in 2nd. But that battle between Pansea, Guillen, and Richardson, unbelievable passing by Richardson, well-deserved podium finish for him.
Tim Day Jr. finished 2nd in both P2 and P1 at Indianapolis last year in the Runoffs, and able to improve on that in P2 and win that national championship. Really looking forward to hearing his thoughts after the race.
Yeah, in fact, he'll still be running P1 again this year. That race will happen tomorrow, so he's going to try and go for the dual gold if he can. He's got one of them in hand, and what a great drive from him. Very well deserved.
That has to give you a boost of confidence going into your 2nd race, knowing that you faced the pressure, you faced it down, and you came out on top.
It does, yeah. You definitely go in with a bit of maybe a chip on your shoulder. Now, he's not on pole for P1. It's going to be a tough battle for him. However, he just put in 20 solid laps that are more data he can collect and maybe apply some of that knowledge to a very similar car with some more power in the P1 tomorrow.
How about the track record storyline? That was something we were keeping an eye on. Where did that ultimately shake out? It looks like Bona all the way down in 17th. That's where he's going to end up. After encountering some issues, set the fast lap.
Sabona came in with that record at a 1:33.9 in about 3rd, 4th lap of the race. He drops that record. Now, unfortunately, he had the troubles and unable to continue, but he does maintain the record just about 1.9 seconds faster.
Yeah, so for those of you keeping track at home, a 132.071 is the new track record for the P2 class. But Tim Day Jr. pulling into the winner's circle here, and pretty soon we'll have Tom O'Gorman to chat with him. A much-deserved round of congratulations from the crew. They're as much a part of this as anybody.
Oh, absolutely. A lot of teams are all like that. Whether you're running in, a B-Spec car, whether you're running here in the prototypes, your crew is everything. They are everything that it goes into this. They hold every wrench. They do everything for you, and the driver just gets to drive sometimes. There's a little more than that, but their crew is everything, especially in a prototype. The amount of work that goes into keeping this car running, they are sensitive machines. Very important to have a strong crew with you.
You can see the gold medal hanging out on the right side of the picture. Tim Day Jr. about to have it draped around his neck. That smile tells you what you need to know about what this means to him. Oh, good stuff. The hat comes on, and Tom O'Gorman should be standing by. Tom, you there?
Yeah, Tim Day Jr., you came close in P1 and P2 last year at Indy, but here you are, gold medal at Sonoma.
Yeah, had some unfinished business to come down here, and had a little bit of a home field advantage since the car lives two hours away. And we worked really hard this season on getting ourselves prepared for this runoff so that we could have a shot at the top step on the podium. So, it's all about the people that help put this car together. Bulldog Motorsports, George Dean, who built my engine. I'm just the lucky guy that gets to drive it across the line and get a little bit of the glory. So great day here in Sonoma. Great event by the SCCA.
Absolutely. And national champion Tim Day Jr. in Prototype 2. How's that feel?
It feels incredibly awesome. Hopefully there'll be more to come, but this is a really special day for me and a great day for Bulldog Motorsports. So,
all right, we'll enjoy that extra lap.
Congratulations to our 2018 champion. That is Tim Day Jr. from Scottsdale, Arizona. There's a look at the P2 results. Jeff Schaefer and Perry Richardson completing the top three in that class. Greg Gann, nearly a podium for him, and Lucian Pansea also, you have to say, what might have been. He was in podium position for a while and had a little mishap halfway through.
Yeah, he did, and that was unfortunate. He dropped off of that second spot he was running in, came back. A great charge, though, to get him to the top five. But the pass that Richardson made on Pansea on the second lap to go, coming around turn 3, nobody passes on the outside of 3, and Richardson made that move. Richardson totally deserving that third step on the podium.
Well, two more guys on the podium to chat with. Tom O'Gorman is downstairs.
Yeah, we're here with the second-place finisher, Jeff Schaefer. Now, Jeff, you switched cars midweek, but you got some experience across all of these cars here in Prototype 2. Tell us about that.
Well, yeah, first of all, congrats to Tim. I mean, everybody here is so competitive, and he's done an awesome job, and it was his to lose, really, this week. So good job for those guys. But, yeah, we had a little tail issue, a little bodywork problem, and the body fell off. Ripped the rear wing off in practice, had a big moment. So I switched cars for a little while we repaired this, but our goal was really to run this the whole time. So she held together. It was fun. It was glad.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. Switching cars not once but twice midweek, back and forth, and coming home on the podium. We'll step over now to the third-place finisher, Perry Richardson. Story that slipped by us. Mr. Richardson here, he didn't qualify in Prototype 2, spent the week in Prototype 1, and then drove from the back here to the podium.
Yeah, we had a motor issue early on, and we just didn't get time for P2. But we ended up getting the motor in just to do a hardship lap this morning. Motor seemed good, so we just decided to let it tear, and George Dean gave me a great motor, and it held together and just put me up front. So I'm kind of in a little bit of a disbelief that I got all the way to third and actually am on the podium for P2, because I really was not expecting that starting all the way at the back of the pack. But yeah, it's a shock.
Did you know that pass on the last lap was for the podium?
So I actually started cheating along the way because that pole up there was telling me the position. So as soon as I saw the white flag, I was like, well, it's now or never. So I decided, I was like, let me see if I can set him up through 3 and 3A. Sure enough, he drifted out wide in 3A, and I had the power down, so I was able to stick it into the inside on 4 and had a beautiful exit. And from there, he just couldn't touch me, which was great. So, but no, it was a great race. It was green start to finish, which was great. And I wouldn't be here without Hedsburg Distillers, Briggs Consulting, and Casino Fandango. They really made the season possible for me, as well as the support from my crew standing over here, my mother and father, and everybody that supported me along the way. I couldn't have done it without them.
Well, congratulations, an awesome story. Enjoy your podium finish. That's what I got, guys.
Great job. Really appreciate it, Tom. Thank you so much downstairs. How about that story? Perry Richardson, I was trying the whole race to figure out where he came from because he wasn't even on the starting grid that I was looking at. And sure enough, that explains a lot as we take a look at the start
yeah,
here.
right at the start, you won't see him in the shot because he's at the back of the field. But to come from that far back and put it on podium, it's got to be one of the drives of the runoffs.
Great stuff so far. Here's some drama at the start of this race, and unfortunately, we had a couple casualties early on. That pass right there, though, had our hearts in our throats. Don't see that one very often.
Yeah, the passing by Richardson is just unbelievable. But for Day, you saw him on that victory lap. He's got his crew with him. First people he thanked, the crew that put the car together. There you see is they're holding the checker. He's just the guy behind the wheel, as he says, the one getting the glory, but the team is the one that does the work.
Well, fantastic stuff. Great race in P2, another national champion crowned, and it is Tim Day Jr. winning flag to flag, led the field to green from pole and led every lap and to pick up the national title. Good stuff down from pit lane today from Tom O'Gorman. Also a pleasure to work with Larry McLeod once again. Thank you so much, and thanks to you for tuning in to our live coverage of the SCCA runoffs presented by Mazda. Thanks for watching.